My name is Paulo Salomon, and I am the founder and CEO of King Ursa.
Hi, I'm Jen Green, and I'm the head of strategy at King Ursa.
My name is Grant Cleland. I'm the creative director at King Ursa.
King Ursa is an independent, integrated Canadian ad agency. So we do everything from strategy and creative and media to data analytics, and we do social production in-house as well.
We believe, winning with our clients is more important than being right. I believe that's what separates us from other agencies.
One of the things that makes us strong is our commitment to solving the real business problem, right? And we do that with a mix of intuition, right? Trusting our instincts and then backing it up with rigor, right? So it's that merger of art and science to come up with solutions that are innovative and out of the box often.
Now, being Canadian to me means high standards of principles and values and respect for other human beings.
I think it's great for Canadian agencies to be given, a voice to show our strength. We are humble, right, to a fault. And so it's actually nice for us for a change to sort of band together and show off our chops.
Today, we're going to be taking a look at our case study for Timberland Canada, which is made from Fiona. That was a proactive response campaign to Hurricane Fiona that hit the East Coast. When the hurricane hit the East Coast, obviously devastating, like thousands of trees knocked over. And because Timberland is a brand that does have an eco-conscious side to it, whether that's sustainable products or recycled materials, they also have, set out a goal, I think back in 2019, of planting 50 million trees in North America.
They have a tree as a logo.
Their logo's a tree.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
So they have a lot of motivation to do those types of things on top of what they sell, which is, apparel and footwear.
Yeah.
So knowing that those are things that they're, interested in pursuing and do have that mindset to accomplish those types of goals. When this happened, we're like, well, this is kind of an opportunity that feels like it needs a silver lining, awful story. Funding ran out pretty quickly for the ability to repair damage and help the community. So, it was kind of a twofold opportunity where we're like, okay, well, you do this tree work, your logo's a tree. All these trees are destroyed and really they're just destined for the wood chipper. So when you think about that as from a resource standpoint, like, could we do something that then illuminates this idea of like, maybe next time if we actually had a conscious effort, not necessarily as Timberland, but as a country or any company, NGOs, is there a way that maybe we're prepared to do something with all these trees next time something like this happens? Because it's a huge amount of a resource that's got this untapped potential that's quite valuable. So we use that as an opportunity to kind of do a brand act that would help the community, but also kind of make a bit of a point or do something that got people thinking outside of the box a little bit.
And also just their audience is so incredibly interested in the purposes that brands have. And one of the reasons that they gravitate towards Timberland is because of its green credentials. And this was against a backdrop where there was a lot of greenwashing. So this was a great opportunity for Timberland to demonstrate as opposed to talk about the environment.
Should we see do some show and tell?
Sure.
There's like a famous quote that it's not the wind blowing, it's what the wind is blowing. The rattling of metal and wood creaking and buildings twisting.
You hear these very destructive sounds. The natural forces are so much greater than you are, than your home might be able to withstand.
My uncle still doesn't live in his house because downed trees cause structural damage. Literally the entire forest was just blown down in one direction and was completely destroyed.
this project's really about 3 artists from Nova Scotia using trees that fell during Fiona to create beautiful art that will go back to help those affected by Fiona.
Timberland approached me and various other artists to make something extraordinary that could be used to generate relief funds for Hurricane Fiona.
Your people think that 6 months, 8 months down the road that, oh, it's past, time's past, it's all over with, but it's not. It's not over.
You think when it's over, you get a feeling of peace and, okay, we survived. But then there's the aftermath that just goes on and on and on, which takes most of us by surprise.
There's people down here that have no home. There's people that have crushed-in roofs that have been dealing with tarps on the roof for months. There's people who are struggling to eat because they're trying to pay to have a place to live. So it's not over. This is something that people need to continue to support.
Well, in a sense, when we carve into a block of wood, we're looking back in time. It engenders this idea that I have to treat it with great respect.
And it's just like a fingerprint. Each piece of wood is different. So you're taking that kind of hidden beauty and showing it to the world, but there's also some good that comes out of it. The piece that I created is all really centered around a few themes. One being hope, one being growth, and one being rebirth.
I wanted the chair to impart a feeling of comfort when we sat in it, to hug and to protect. I went for quite a deep arm, which would provide the sitter with a feeling of security. And then the way the leather is pressed against the frame of the chair, as if the strong winds were pushing it there. The way the arms curl over, the way they're sculpted is to mimic a crashing wave.
The twisted roots and the crashing waves come together to create a picture of the chaos of the storm. It symbolizes the force of nature and the destruction that was Hurricane Fiona. It was just so great to be able to do something to help the community that's still suffering still a year later.
It falls off the news very quickly. Other things replace it. And that's understandable. A project like this reminds everyone that it's still very real.
We're Nova Scotians, and this is what we do. So let's do what we do best, and that is helping our neighbor.
We started ideating like almost the day right after.
And was there an aesthetic cue? Like, was this you're watching the news and all these trees flattened on the ground?
Oh yeah, I mean it was everywhere on the news. You couldn't help.
So
but
this
see
was a news story that, oh my God, all the
that
trees.
hurricane was massive. Like it affected the eastern seaboard in the U.S. It hit Canada pretty badly. There was other places.
It was the worst hurricane that had ever affected
Yeah,
Canada.
one of the worst hurricanes in history was Hurricane Fiona.
Yep.
Just devastating.
I think worldwide it was like $4 billion worth of damage, roughly. So yeah, it was a big news story. So when it happened, we started thinking, okay, we were already talking about initiatives that we could do for them.
Yeah.
So when this happened, it's like, well, this falls right into the conversation we were just having. Like, what can we do with trees, or what can we do for something with an environmental edge to it?
Mm-hmm.
And so when that happened, you're just seeing news footage of just thousands of trees knocked over, and we're like, hey, here's an opportunity. So, what if we turn them into things? The first idea was like, okay, we got all these trees on the ground. What do we do with them?
Right.
And the team ideated on a bunch of ways in, but what we netted out on was like, well, let's do something, because one of the things that Timberland really prides itself on is sponsoring what they call authenticators.
Okay.
So people that can use their products or stand for their values and actually do cool projects, whether it's collaborations on products or artists, pieces. And so this was coming out of the tail end of the Built for the Bold campaign, which is one of the campaigns we worked on here in Canada. And it was all about authenticators and people in the industry that were using both the Timberland Tree division, which is more the streetwear and the outerwear, and the Timberland Pro division, which is the workwear. And that campaign was showcasing what all these amazing people can do using the products to do whatever it is they do.
Mm-hmm.
So falling out right out of that, we're like, well, we could use artists as authenticators, because first responders always in these types of disasters are obviously critical. So first firefighters, policemen, construction workers, electricians, the people that fix, the hydro workers. And they always get obviously the due credit for helping and managing the recovery from these types of events. But we thought, hey, maybe we can get artists involved to have them be able to contribute as well. So we actually reached out to 3 artists like the day after. I think some of them thought it was a scam when we first reached out because it was pretty random. But
we have a bunch of trees for you to make something.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we represent this brand, and they all knew it because they all use the products. They love the brand, so that was like an immediate win with them. And so we had reached out to people that we had found, and Nova Scotia apparently has quite a few amazing woodcraft artists that do various types of woodcraft. So
tell me about this Jonathan Otter.
Yeah, so Jonathan Otter is a furniture designer from Nova Scotia. Great guy, very talented, kind of a self-taught guy as well. He's got a studio there, and an amazing woods. I guess you would call him a craftsman, but spent a lot of time in furniture design. So when we approached him, he immediately was drawn to the idea because his family has like a 400-acre tree farm, and it was just almost obliterated.
Oh, okay. So this was an issue that was close to home, and yet you didn't know that necessarily when you contacted.
No, we had no idea. So like he heard the idea and he's like, I'm in. So that was great response from him. And then the other,
what was the ask though when you contacted him? Was it
so for him, because we had researched him, we're like, hey, this guy's incredible. Like he's doing world-class furniture. He did a chair for the House of Commons. Very established in the industry, but not so widely known in like the public eye, right? Because it's kind of a niche thing. How many amazing furniture designers do you know? Like not very many.
Well, typically they work on commission for brands, right? And then
well, he never does.
Okay.
So typically he's working on commissions for people that have money to spend on custom made furniture
pieces. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of his beds were sold for what, like his.
Yeah. So he currently works out of Ireland for a guy named Joseph Walsh, who's another world-class, wood craftsman, I guess you would call him.
Mm-hmm.
And they make these incredible wood beds that are like, they look like museum pieces, and they sell them for quite a bit of money. And so he was in Ireland at the time and actually came back to Canada to do this project. So his studio is still there. His brother runs his studio there. And so obviously his personal connection to the project was amazing. And then, so much symbology goes into the piece that, we had essentially said, hey, Jonathan, you do incredible wood furniture. We would love for you to be a part of this project and make a chair for us.
And so what was the idea? Is simply just produce this iconic piece to represent the time and his personal story with the nature and the devastation?
Yeah. So
also then
it was pretty open brief, right?
Okay. So there's no commercialization kind of to this. It was
the whole thing was like, we're going to pay for you to do the hard costs of making it because we're going to pay for your time. And that's what we had to go find the money to do.
Okay.
And he agreed. He's like, yeah, I love it. We'll auction the piece off and I'll donate whatever we get for it to the project because he's been paid and now it's a goodwill gesture, obviously on his part as well. And so we reached out to him and said, basically, we're just looking for you to design a really cool chair. Up to you to decide what to do, what symbology to put into it. And each piece has so much baked into it from a storytelling narrative, which was important to us because, the East Coast is known for storytelling. They pride themselves on that. So we wanted those artists to inject that into their pieces.
Cool.
So Jonathan used red maple. He actually carved the GPS coordinates into the back of the chair from where the actual wood was sourced from.
Amazing.
He used robin egg blue for the leather because that symbolizes rebirth or renewal in some cultures. He carved the wood in a way to represent the crashing waves, so both in the arms and on the side of the arm. He wanted to build a deep seat where you kind of are wrapped, the chair wraps around you, You know, in his words, he wanted the sitter in the chair to have a sense of security because of the way the chair kind of holds you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, you know, sturdy. And then he put the leather into the back of the chair, almost like a piece of sheet metal being pressed against a fence or something from the high winds. So, and there's more than that in that chair, but that's kind of the stuff I can remember off the top of my head.
And if you sit on the chair, it's unbelievable. We all got to sit
Yeah,
on the chair.
so
Comfortable.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, really amazing. But the funny thing was we actually thought we could turn this project around quite quickly, which was the goal.
Right.
And then so Jonathan's in. We're excited. We're ready to go. And we're like, okay, so how long does it take to make a chair? And he's like, well, it takes about 3 months to dry the wood. So we were like, oh, so maybe not as quick to respond to this thing as possible, but that was okay because we didn't want to rush them. We wanted the project to take their time, build it right. And we actually ended up, the better strategy was actually to launch the auction on the 1-year anniversary.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point in time, there was still a lot of news coverage that was, you know, not positive, you know, a lot of damage hadn't been rebuilt. So, when we ran the auction on the 1-year story, it was a great story for the media to pick up, which was part of the earned media strategy, right? Small budget. So we have to be very strategic with why and how and when we launch it.
Mm-hmm.
So launching it on the 1-year anniversary with the story of these artists and putting their personal connections into it and what it meant to them to be able to help the community, all the stuff that they did to build, you know, beautiful imagery into their pieces, you know, helps drive value for what we ended up selling the pieces for. Also a great, you know, silver lining story for the media to pick up. And Jonathan actually got interviewed by the Canadian press, which was amazing because the reporter admitted they typically don't cover stuff like this. They're talking about financial fraud and war. And so he was very excited as a reporter to come talk about this because he's like, this is a great story. Like, this is really fun for me.
Right.
And that was amazing. And Timberland did well. They got this story put on all the major newspapers. Like, we had amazing earned media pickup, and we sold the chair for $30,000, which was awesome.
And we were working with the United Way at that point.
So we had partnered with the United Way as well because we specifically were asking about, you know, we reached out to a bunch of I don't know, what do you call them? Not NGOs. Are they NGOs?
Yeah, charities.
Yeah, charities. Anyway, we reached out to a bunch of these organizations that were on the ground helping.
Sure.
And United Way seemed to, I mean, A, they were really excited, but B, they were actually able to distribute the funds the widest. So they were a great partner and they really helped, you know, make sure that every
The affected region. But the idea was that they were taking the raised funds from this auction and helping the communities affected.
That's right.
Because a year after, I mean, the rebuilding was like definitely far from finished.
Yeah, and you can see,
they needed that new focal point, that new attention, that new source of like help and assistance and inspiring the community to get involved and like continue to rebuild, right?
So, I mean, there's only so much money, or I mean, what we were able to donate, they were very grateful for, but I think also just the story around it encouraged further donations to United Way in general, just because it brought it back top of mind. It showed that there was still work to be done. Yeah.
Because, you know, the news cycle continues, right? It's just like, oh, there's another disaster. Oh, and people stop talking about it.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. So, Jonathan was fantastic. You know, we went there for 3 days. We filmed, you know, the hero campaign video, which was a part of the website. We built the auction website ourselves, which was an interesting endeavor.
Internally at the agency.
Internally at the agency.
Yes.
You know, it's one of those things where when Paula says the whole team has to get together, it's like we actually had to because there was no money to do it any other way.
Right.
So we just, you know, figured out how to do it and made sure we did it properly and professionally.
What you built it with?
Oh, I can't tell you that.
Well, there's so many tools today, right? Like
We consulted with a lot of
Couple
people.
sticks of gum,
so many tools to be used, and
duct tape and
Yeah.
hammers and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, Jonathan was an awesome partner and really great guy, and it was amazing to go out and, you know, meet his family and see his shop and spend a few days with him out in his world.
Excellent.
And then our second artist was Adam McNamara, and he's a wood sculptor,
Okay.
really amazing artist as well.
And where is he based?
Upper Lahave.
That's it?
Yeah, Upper Lahave,
I don't know where
New
that is.
Brunswick
Sorry.
or Nova Scotia?
Nova Scotia.
In Nova Scotia. Okay.
Yeah, they're all Nova Scotia based. So that was where we decided to focus the efforts and focus the project, because they were the most heavily hit.
Okay.
So yeah, Adam, again, great guy. He does this on the side, but I think it's getting to the point where he'll probably be able to, maybe do this full time, because not on top of this project, he had also been gaining traction a little bit too. So he was a great guy to work with. All of them just like phenomenal people. Very supportive, dedicated.
It's an interesting point though, like the engaging artisans in this kind of a campaign that relies on relating authenticity,
Mhm.
right? And I think, what was the word that you used? That
Authenticators.
Authenticators. That's what Timberland internally calls this sort of brand advocate.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's like an authentic expression of the moment, but also it's an object. And I think that's fascinating. The idea of like producing a tangible asset that's iconic for more than just commercializing. Like if this was now run off to a factory and you made 10,000 of them, it would not have the impact of a one-time only, artistic expression.
That's right. So yeah, and I guess it shouldn't be surprising, but the amazing thing was like they were already huge fans of the brand.
Right, because they were used to the brand.
Yeah, so they got out to their shops and their their workspaces. They're like, "Do you want us wearing like new clothes and stuff?" We're like, "Well, we're going to give you some stuff because the brand wants you to have it, but no, wear what you use every day. Like, why would we put on a brand shiny new shirt when what you wear is so real? Like, we don't need to change that."
Right.
So that was really cool to see them the way they work, and you got to learn a lot about them and their processes. So Adam was great. Like I said, he's from Upper LaHave and amazing artist, and everyone had the same brief. It's like, do something meaningful for you that you think as an artist you would be proud of, something that represents the values of the province and of Canadians by large, and just inject that into your work. And the client was obviously very open to that as well. There's no mandate that you had to carve a Timberland logo into anything, and the product's not the solution here. It's just the brand doing something amazing because it's a brand that actually cares about doing community good when it can. So then that was another aspect of the project. So Adam sourced the wood from his family's church, so he had a great story. And so he carved the statue that he called Rebirth out of it, which is renewal, obviously. And decided that he does paint some of his stuff, but we decided not to paint it because it was just more natural. And then we mounted it on a plinth, and it was amazing. So Adam and our next artist, Kaylin, they actually were interviewed by Global News. So they packaged up their art and went to Halifax and did the morning show there, which was great.
Nice.
And they were so excited too, because this is obviously we need them to bring this idea to life, but this was as much for them as it was for the brand, right? Like, we're doing this because we want you to get a benefit out of this. Like, the more we get your name out there, the more you win, and that's good for everyone. So community wins, you win, the brand wins. So that was obviously very important as well, which is why we didn't put too many guardrails on the work. We basically, the only guardrails was that the wood has to be from Nova Scotia. It has to be from a tree that has already fallen over, and that was pretty much it. So Kaylin, another amazing artist from out there, she does these things called relief prints, where you actually press the wood into the paper with ink, almost like a letterpress. It's kind of a combination between letterpress and screen printing.
Wow.
And then she illustrates around it, and she's got a phenomenal range of work, just really cool stuff. And so hers was titled Uprooted, and it was all about the trees and the water kind of twisting around each other, because there's so many shorelines were just destroyed by the forces. And then also the rings actually kind of mirror the shape of an actual hurricane itself.
Sure.
So this was a very cool project, and we watched her film, and we filmed her putting the finishing touches on it. And yeah, great project. She was awesome to work with.
So How did you source these 3 artists?
We
was that
had to scrub the internet. So we were on Instagram, we were on Google, we were on Behance, like anywhere that artists post their work, we were searching. And we actually had a list of about 8.
Okay.
And then these were the 3 that we ended up going with. And yeah, couldn't have been happier with who we got. And they're just a great bunch of people.
What was their first response when you brought them this project?
Well, Jonathan doesn't work with brands ever, is what he said. And so he wasn't sure what to think of this. He laughed. He's like, I thought this was a scam, which was funny. And then after talking to him for about 5 minutes and just, speaking to him like real people and what we're trying to achieve, he was immediately in. And same with Adam and Kaylin. We got on one call with them, and we had put together like a bit of a, put the idea in a bit of a package and sent them as a pre-read. And just by the responses we got from them, they were interested before we even hopped on that first meeting call.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the client reception of this brand exercise? Because I'm sure like you're doing brand work for them or, anyway, and then this idea to do this kind of fun campaign that wasn't budgeted for came, about, and you executed and it had a massive impact.
Yeah.
So how did that then play in retroactively, if at all, to what you were doing for the brand as commissioned work?
Well, the mandate in Canada has always been to just grow the brand, grow sales, grow the audience, right? So this is one thing that we think, that we saw as a great opportunity to actually get that brand name out to a ton of audiences that we couldn't normally afford to pay to get in front of.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's people all over the country. We spend a lot of our time dealing with their biggest sales regions, which is obviously GTA, Montreal, Vancouver. But that doesn't mean that they don't want presence and awareness from the e-com that we built for them that they can just sell online. So this was a great way to do something that actually got to every corner of the country via the news to hopefully inspire new brand advocates and new fans, because we could have just never used our campaign media dollars to pay to get into all those places.
But see, that's interesting as a strategy too, like in general. And I think there's lessons here, perhaps for like, go to market approaches in the fact that we have this large landmass country with, fringe communities outside of the major cities, for sure, that often cases don't get sold to.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, with a brand like Timberland, where their brand advertising, not on social, was largely international, was largely coming from their global offices, right? We had to find a way, we had to create an avenue for spreading that brand message across the country, like you said, from coast to coast to coast, and doing it on a shoestring budget. And this was an opportunity that just presented itself that, we jumped on, right? It wasn't an ask. And had we been given this as an ask and given a budget, we wouldn't have been able to deliver on it. We needed to be able to be responsive. We needed to be able to, say, hey, we have identified this opportunity that we think is the right fit for your brand.
Mm-hmm.
And, trust us, right? Like it comes down to that. Like we were asking them to go out on a limb and believe that we could move the needle on this project. And we succeeded in doing that. Absolutely.
And that's the way we perceive part of the work that we're doing for our clients is exactly this, to connect their brand or their product or their service in a very authentic way with consumers. And so whether if it's strategized and we do the work to get there, or we completely believe in the idea that we're abreast of trends, we're constantly like on top of what's happening out there. We're connected with people, and I believe that it's natural that we have the power to bring those opportunities to life and work with our clients that way. So it is to us, it's part of the work, isn't it? Like
totally. It's just being in that culture, right? And understanding what those cultural moments are to attach yourselves to. It's like we live it and breathe it every day, and we always look for those intersections between the cultural moment, the human moment, and then that brand objective or reality, right? And we have to be responsive in order to deliver on that, because the moments, they pass very quickly.
And when we say like live and breathe every day, like it's not just, we don't just wear Timberland where the client's coming to the agency to visit. Like I've been to the stores. We go to anytime we see Timberland anywhere. We're judging, we're assessing, we're seeing if it's been represented in other ways. If there are other opportunities around it and momentarily what we're looking at. We truly believe in we wear, like, as we say in Brazil, like, we wear the jersey and we're like we're fighting for the team and so our heads are constant. Any news that we get from anything in regard, I've before called I won't name the client, but one of our clients, I reached out to their complaint phone number on the website to see how it would be, what the message was going to be,
Right, of course.
to see if it was matching with everything that we were trying to do out there. And then got that experience to our VP of marketing and say, hey, here's what experience like. I think we need to take a look at that and see how we can improve that. Like, we're legitimately, this is what we're accountable. We truly feel accountable for the success of their brands, product, services, and the bridge between them and people, and they're all there, right? Not consumers, like truly real people.
And this case study particularly talks, I think, to the strength of community values as well, right? Responding to a crisis with togetherness. How do you think that relates to Canadianism in general? And like, is this approach, and obviously this is a context that was like a natural disaster, but affected Eastern Canada. How do you think Canada, as the context for this campaign, bears any lessons in terms of how you market to Canadians?
I mean, yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know if I love or I hate trying to put Canadians in a box, but I know in this case, like, I do think there are those values where we do pride ourselves on helping our neighbor. I think that was a huge aspect of that. And that can be your literal neighbor or your Canadian neighbor on the other side of the country. I think, there was, on the auction itself, we got bids from all over the country. So it just showed that willingness to support and that desire to be a part of something that's positive to community values, community good, was definitely a driver for Canadians across the country. So I think that was a big part of it. I think, we pride ourselves on being able to help our neighbors and be supportive.
I think there's also just the aspect of resilience, right? Like, Canadians are from a very tough climate. We are no stranger to, events like this, right, that are devastating. And I think this is a great example of showcasing that, of like putting a mirror up back and showing our audiences like who they really are, right? And reminding them that they have what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the brands outside of Canada, like, did you hear anything from Timberland peeps outside of Canada on this?
Yeah. We got some great feedback from the other markets like Mexico and a couple of the European markets. Like we said, it was shared internally, so it was made known that on their internal newsletters that this had gone on, and I think it was very well received internally as well. So we had behind the scenes feedback, and we also had public feedback on the channels from some of the other markets.
Yeah, super interesting. How did you guys ensure that there was going to be, like, to the best of your control and knowledge, how did you ensure that there was going to be coverage on this campaign?
I mean, it's the trick question. We couldn't ensure it, but
Yeah.
I think as far as like building in the highest likelihood of success, it was really being very considerate about who do we hire. Why, like, you could have done this with artists from other parts of the country. You could have responded completely different with some other idea. So we were very critical and very considered when we approached how we do this, why we're doing it, how are we tying it back to the brand values and the brand mission and things that are so core, so that after you see something like this, if that's your way into the brand, you get to the website and it all kind of feels like it's the same DNA, right? It's not that like you land on the website and they're talking about the environment.
But in terms of calculating the exposure, not the reaction.
Oh yeah. I mean, then it was, launching it on the 1 year anniversary was a huge part of that. It's like we
got picked up in the news side.
Yes, because we know the media is looking to tell a story. We know a lot of those stories aren't great. So for them to do something that is positive, that's community building, that's values based, that's authentic, that's real, that's used with real people who were affected. All of that fed into the idea and our strategy of the media actually being very excited about talking about this, because all those things were factored into why would they want to talk about this right now.
But was it a kind of like cross your fingers, or
No,
was
no.
It was a pretty tight narrative.
Yeah,
right?
there's, if you think about it too, like the way,
We had a good press release.
Mhm.
like I mentioned before, how we're tied to results, constantly measuring, and whether if it's listening to the news, whether if it's through the dashboards that we're creating, whatever that is, we do get very close and stay very close to that. And there's, if you think about what is the old Coca-Cola strategy of like think big, start small, scale fast. But when you do, there's measurement, risk measurement there as well, where if you're seeing, there's momentum happening, and then, then we build up on momentum as well.
right?
So it's not just a setting. Never for us is a set and forget. Right?
Mhm.
So we're looking at we can pick up on certain aspects that we're seeing that is working, and its positive sentiment is improving and so on. And there you can continue. But in this case was the more we got, the more we were able to build upon as well.
Yeah, so it wasn't like let's do this and cross your fingers. Like there was on the back end, there was a channel strategy, there was an earned media strategy. Like the way we built all the assets for the ability for outlets to pick up the story, like that was all strategically built into everything that we did, so that when we went to them with the story that we thought had the ability to gain that traction we wanted, it was all there for them.